AI helping me EQ artificial intelligence? Helping me EQ? I know what you're thinking. It's what I'm thinking. Artificial intelligence helping me EQ? I mean, it's a great marketing idea, but does it work? Look at that evening light smashing into my face. I wanted to capture this. Oh, I'm all blinded now. I wanted to capture this on the same day that I experienced it. I really can't see anything, but we'll know that. So I wanted to capture my emotions, my feelings, my thoughts on the same day that I've been playing with this really cool bit of software. And so the question is, does this work? Can AI help you with EQing? And for me, it all comes down to expectations. What do you expect it to do? Are you expecting this to be some sort of magic device? Ooh, is it magic? Does it somehow do your EQing for you? And therefore you can just sort of sit back and go, oh, computer, make all the decisions for me? No, but what it does is provide, in my opinion, it's very creative and interesting suggestions, but that is the crux of it. These are suggestions. It's not this automated magic box device that somehow makes your entire track for you. It gives you suggestions based on what the profiles. These things here. This is the important part as well. There are many important parts of this video. So the suggestion, remember, it makes suggestions. It doesn't do all the work for you. The suggestions it makes, the suggestions it makes are based on the profile you choose. So it's very important when you're playing with this thing to choose an appropriate profile and just have a bit of an understanding of how this thing is working. It's based on AI stuff. And a huge part of AI, if you follow the space, is the idea that its decisions, or it's the stuff it comes up with, is based on the input data. And so there's a lot of talk about what you feed into AI that determines what it does. And that's what the profiles are. So each of these profiles is effectively a different set of inputs. And it's not magic. I can't stress that enough, but at the same time, it is useful and it is interesting. So for example, whilst I probably don't use it in the way it's intended, sorry, sonible, I get some great results. So what I personally like to do is, in the case of, say, synths and pads, I like to choose the speech profile and use that as my guide, use that as my suggestion. How you're supposed to use this thing, but then again, I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to use it, because there's no such thing as a perfectly flat EQ shape or a perfect tonal balance, a perfect spectral balance. It's just you have stuff, and some of that stuff sounds better in some situations than others. And maybe you could argue that there are certain frequency balances that are more standard than others. Even so, that doesn't really it's not even true. I mean, you can run these tests yourself if you're curious. And all of that is ignoring the creativity side of things and the fact that this somehow got to guess what it is you have in mind. So it's not magic, but it does make some really nice suggestions. And I think that is the heart of this thing. It makes some interesting suggestions. It's got some really great results. But now here's an important point as well. So I know what some of you are thinking, multiplier, why don't you give us some audio examples? Well, let me explain why. So I could either give you 5 or 6 positive examples where I take this, press a button and go, whoa, that is amazing. Oh, it's instant magic. It turns anything into brilliance without any work. I could easily show you 5 or 6 examples of that, but that would be misrepresentative. That doesn't really tell you anything, because I could equally show you 5 or 6 examples where it doesn't give you useful results. But again, in my opinion, that's not the point of this thing. This thing isn't designed to do the work for you. It's designed to give you a useful suggestion. And if you view it in that way, it's really, really good. I mean, just look at these shapes. I mean, even if you just purely look at it from this perspective, it gives you shapes you wouldn't draw otherwise. So you're creating sounds and shaping the tone in ways you wouldn't think to try otherwise, because it would take forever. You wouldn't be able to, how would you even program that shape without using lots and lots of EQs? It would take you forever. So it's a way of, or at least one aspect of it is, it's a way of creating things you wouldn't create otherwise. And I think that's really, really cool. Yes, it's a different way to come about it, but I think it's an interesting way. But as I say, expectations is everything. This won't do the work for you, but what it will do is give you very interesting, creative suggestions. And as I say, personally, I like to use, say, the speech profile or the viola one. I've got some great results with too, but it will depend on your input signal and, of course, your own creative style. What sounds good to me may not sound perfect to you, because there is no such thing as the perfect EQ balanced. I mean, you could argue pink noise is quite flat, grey noise is flatter, but I'm going off on tangents. Multiplier's gone off on a complete tangent, but that is the multiplier way. He loves tangents. And what was that? I've completely lost my train of thought. And the sun has nearly dipped below the neighbour's house, so I may all of a sudden stop being blinded, and we'll just have to roll with that. I like it, and that is, and I suppose I've explained my reasons why. I spent all of today with this, testing this thing, and I thought long and hard about this video, and I think this is the best way to view it. It's not something that will do the work for you, but it's a thing that can be useful in the suggestions it gives. So you can't just plug any random sound in and not configure the thing and just hit do, and then it kind of transform your track in the most perfect way possible. It doesn't do that, because that's also impossible. But what it can do is provide useful suggestions, and in my opinion, creatively interesting suggestions, because of these profiles. And you can choose different profiles. You can start to develop a bit of an ear for these things, or you can pick the profile shapes that you prefer. You can even customize them as well. So if you wanted to, but that's going off a tangent. It's a beautiful sunset. Give it a go. You can try this thing for free, like many plugins. So I recommend giving it a go for yourself. And as I say, I'm not going to give you any examples, because that won't really tell you anything, really. If I give you an example, either you'll hear it as great or not very great, or I pick a good example or a bad example, and none of that is really very helpful. So if you're curious, give this a go. You can try it out for free. There'll be a link in the description below, or you can just look at the title of the video for the name of this, and you just type it into Google, type it in, and you could just find it that way. Getting blinded by the sun. Never done a video in the evening time here before. Stop looking at the sun. Blinded. Totally blinded there. Beautiful day though. Absolutely beautiful day. Great day to be experimenting with exciting plugins. And I suppose, I'm sure you've seen these similar plugins talking about AI stuff in their plugins before, and it's a similar situation across other plugins as well. It's great stuff. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time, and it will be interesting to see how these things evolve. We're still in the early days, but it's still good days. The early days are still better than the days before the days. Like the early days of bronze was better than before the bronze era, for example. The early days of the internet was better than before the internet. Same with this.